Here's a word on honey. If you try to be cheap and buy inorganic raw honey, here's the problem. Wax absorbs environmental toxins more than anything. When an environment is tested for environmental toxins, like radiation, like depleted uranium, like heavy metals, one of the bioindicators is that scientists will go in and measure how much toxins are in the wax. Does that make sense to everybody? Beekeepers who are not organic fumigate toxins into the hive, which is absorbed into the wax like a sponge. Right? If it's an inorganic bee farmer, likely they take their bees to corn, canola, or other genetically modified plants, where the bee goes out and collects the sperm of those genetically modified plants. So the most genetically modified part, which would be the sperm, the part that contains the genetics, are gathered together and brought back to the hive. Then, if you buy the raw honey, which is the whole wax ground right into the honey, you're getting all the stuff that's been sprayed into the hives, all the stuff from that toxic environment, all the pesticides, plus the genetically modified material, all grounded. If you're going to buy commercial honey, you're better off to buy cooked, filtered honey than you are to eat the raw honey. Yeah, and it's often $5 cheaper or whatever, so people go for it, but that's a real problem. This honey we're using is wild from here.
Oh yeah.
It's chaparral and mesquite, things like that. We're really lucky to have it.
Can you get that in stores? Wild honey?
You can get that from Joe, who's running around here with the open-chested shirt and mohawk.
Buy a gallon now. It's worth
$25 for one. Yeah, Joe is selling these.
It's 40.
That's 40. Okay, $40. It's like it's an unbelievable price, but this is like a gold mine of honey that will last you forever.
That's gonna be saved him because
We have lid
he's
on
gonna
that
get the
for like
mob.
5, I think, for the next batch that we got.
Anybody ever seen one of these?
Yeah.
No.
This is a Molineo. This is a Mexican
honey, right?
hand blender.
Oh.
Right? And I think really used for cacao drinks traditionally, if I'm not mistaken. But it's amazing if you're doing big batches of drinks because Bruce was talking about emulsifying drinks. I'm gonna pour this into here. It's not like I'm blending this entire batch because it won't fit in the blender. So somehow I gotta get it all together. And I can mix it with a spoon, but it's not super efficient. But this thing is mega efficient.
What's the ring on the top do?
It just sort of continues. It's like an auger. It just continues to shake up. It had two. One broke off. I bought this. I thought it was like kind of a novelty, but it actually has turned out to be a really useful tool for me. You guys know that iron is a pro-oxidant. Iron is a pro-oxidant, right? Like we eat in goji berries because it's an antioxidant. Iron is a pro-oxidant. So it actually potentiates the oxidation process. So somebody asked me earlier, was it you asking about ceramic knives? Like ceramic knives are a really cool technology because there's no iron. So what happens is if you take 2 apples, right, and I cut one with a steel knife, and cut one with a ceramic knife, and you leave them out, you can watch the one that's been cut with the iron begins oxidizing much faster and turning brown. That's the oxidation.
Amazing.
Whereas if you cut it with a ceramic knife, it won't. In a big kitchen setting like this, it's not always super realistic to be like doing everything with a ceramic knife. They're a bit more delicate. Obviously, I love my Vitamix and it's got a steel blade. I don't have really large ceramic pots, but at home, I use this much less and I use a stone mortar and pestle. At home, I use my ceramic knife. At home, I have a ceramic pot and ceramic cups, and I use the wood. So as little metal as I can kind of get into my food, because I think the statistic is that iron oxidizes, I think vitamin C is 50% oxidized on contact with iron. That's pretty significant.
But isn't this good stainless steel somewhat inert?
It's less reactive, but it's iron. Yeah, it's iron. But it is less reactive than say like a cast iron pot or something like that.
Isn't iron a ferrous metal where stainless steel is not?
No, ferrous means iron.
It is iron.
Yeah. What you basically, really in a nutshell, is they take they take iron, which is pretty reactive, and then they dope it with carbon. And that starts to take up the receptor sites, and it's less likely to react with oxygen, but it still does.
So you basically made a tea that simmered for like at least a half an hour, and then you made a milk. and then separately.
So I took spring water,
Yeah.
and then I filled the spring water into a tea with the medicine. That's where I add the medicines in, right? So that's the medicinal phase of the story. But then from the medicinal place, we're starting to cover that up and move it towards an elixir. So then it goes into a milk.
So you take the tea and put it.
Tea becomes the milk. I mean, we could just take,
Make the milk.
we could have just taken, filtered, pure filter water or something like that, or reverse osmosis water, and put cashews in and blended them and strained them off and then add something sweet, and then we have a nut milk. Or we can do it this way, where we take really high quality water, make it into a decoction of strong, powerful medicinal herbs, then take that and make it into a milk instead of using, using medicinal fats instead of just almonds, which I like but are not like what milk this can be. Much
like
more to you.
Coconut flake.
Coconut, yeah, I like coconut seed. You basically in a day you're going to have to choose where your fuel comes from, right? There's a lot of medicinal plants, like a lot of superfoods, but you got to choose your fuels, your calories, which are going to be sugars or fats. And the fats that are in, I don't want to go too deeply into it, but the fats that are in coconut are much more medicinal than the fats that are in many other things. And the sugar that's in honey is coming with a lot more medicinals than with just agave. Does that make sense?
Yeah.